Suit up, strap in, warm the tires, and leave on yellow. Time for the MitsuTimes podcast. Presented by MitsuTimes.org, the home of the fastest Mitsubishi cars. With your host, Josh.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Josh from MitsuTimes. Today, my guest is Mike Wagner. He is the owner and driver of one of the quickest 2Gs on our 2G list, currently number 10. How you doing today, Mike?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Absolutely. I'm glad to have you. I feel like I talked to a lot of Evo guys and a lot of 1G guys, but not enough 2G guys.
There's not a lot of us out there, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's weird that the 2G seems to be dying off faster than the 1G.
Yeah, it's real strange. And it really seems like the 1Gs stay a lot cleaner than the 2Gs do, too.
I think they end up in better hands. I think Fast and Furious movies kind of
fair enough.
hurt our fan base.
That's very true.
As a 2G guy myself, it hurts me to say that, but. All right, Mike, so let's talk about your 8-second 2G. What's the setup on it?
So, as that car sits now, I mean, granted, it's stripped down to nothing to go over to the new chassis. Prior to that, it was a 1999 GST. I all-wheel drive swapped it. Car had a steel rod 2-liter, Precision 6870, PPG dog box. Believe it or not, besides that, the entire rest of the drivetrain was 100% stock. Axles, drive shaft, diff, T-case, all that was stock. Car was on E85 and tuned on ECM Link.
I remember you was one of the first people to really pioneer, well, not pioneer, but I guess document the all-wheel drive swap on tuners a long time ago. Yeah,
that was probably back in like 2014-ish, maybe, something around there, 15, 14.
I think that was when people really felt more comfortable maybe attempting the swap.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it may sound. If you have a donor car, which I ended up getting a donor car, it was like I think I paid $200 for it, but it had everything that you needed in it. The hardest part, is just getting the carrier bearing mounts out of the old one and into the new one. Yeah. So other than that, it's pretty much a bolt-on affair other than, the carrier bearing mounts and the bolts for the rear subframe there. Other than that, it's just more labor intensive than anything.
Gotcha. So, Mike, so many years ago, what was it that drew you to the 2G platform?
To be honest, I mean, there was a multitude of things. I had a friend in high school that had a 95 Talon, and, prior to that, everyone loved the Fast and the Furious, and everybody loved the 2G in that. But when I first got the car, I mean, I wasn't 100% dead set on a 2G. It was between that, a Nissan, like a 300ZX, I want to say it was, or a Mustang. Because my family, my dad, he's a diehard Mustang guy, always has been, Ford everything. And I just so happened to choose the 2G there and had it ever since.
Awesome. That guy that had a 2G in your high school, he must have been one of the cool guys. I know I always wished I had one.
Yeah. And he's half the reason the car is what it is today, to be honest with you.
Heck yeah. So what was your GST like when you bought it, Mike?
So when I first bought the car, I bought the car back in May of 2008. So in a month or two, that's going to be 15 years ago. It was a 99 GST. It was 100% stock other than like a catback exhaust, and then it had an RFL blow-off valve because, that was the cool thing back in the day. Right. I daily drove the thing for, I think it was 3 months, and that I had the car. It was my senior year, last day of high school, pulling out of the parking lot. Everybody's ripping down, and something made its way through the intercooler piping and wedged itself into the throttle body. So the car was just stuck at wide open throttle.
Oh, my God.
Turned the key off, and, back then it was cool to have turbo timers, too, so that was a couple extra seconds of hitting the rev limiter. Turned the thing back on, it had a rod knock. So that kind of led me to building the first motor in the car. From there, it went to, I did a 2-3-stroker, just a standard, Wiseco, Eagle combo, and that actually stayed in the car for the next 10 years.
Wow.
And 70,000 miles I put on that motor. I daily drove the car all the way up until like 2014, 2015, and that's kind of when the car turned more into, I wouldn't say a race car back then, but that's when it was retired from daily driver duty.
Gotcha. So do you regret the stroker phase? I know a lot of people say they wish they could go back and just stick with the 2-liter.
So it was fun. Don't get me wrong. I didn't know what I was doing back then, so that's why I did that. It's like, oh, that's got to be a good idea, to go with that. But back really, when I had the 2.3, it was when I had 14 Bs and 30 Rs and all that stuff. So right. It was a good setup for what it was. I had a lot of fun with it.
Good. So maybe not originally, Mike, but after you put the 2.3 in, did you have any goals other than just a fun street car?
So when I put the 2.3 in it, I really wasn't planning on racing the car a whole lot. It was still my daily driver. It had to get me to work. It had to get me to college and all that. So it really wasn't until probably about 2014, 15 when I all-wheel drive stopped the car that I really, started converting into racing the car and actually setting goals at that point in time.
Okay.
But as far as the original goals, when I actually started racing, it was to go 10s. Everybody wanted to go 10s. That was the end goal for a lot of people.
For sure.
That's when the car had a 6466 on it, Precision 6466. I had 18-inch wheels, street tires, pump 93, ECM link still back then. And I tuned the car myself on the street. That was the first real tune I ever did. And the first time going down the track with that setup, it went at 1040.
Wow. So
it's like, okay, well, 10s came a little easy, so naturally you're going to want to go for 9s. And then 8s and now 7s, it really spirals out of control.
Wow. So do you remember the setup that broke you into 9s for the first time?
Yeah, so the setup that broke me into the 9s, it was still on the 2.3. It was on the 6466, stock trans. I was still on, well, no, I don't think I was on 93 anymore. I think I had made the switch to E85. But the first 9 the car went was at the shootout, so that was pretty
nice,
awesome.
Yeah.
It was as easy as 10s came. I definitely cannot say the same about 9s. That turned into be a struggle. It was really mainly because of the stock transmission. Those things, you weld the center diff on them and say a prayer. They could last all season. They could last 1/3 gear pull.
Right.
But, so the first time the car went 9s, it was at the shootout, and it was a 980 something at 150-ish, somewhere around there.
Wow. And then the pass that got you, or the setup that got you into the 8s, is it pretty similar to your setup now?
So right now, the pass that got me into the 8s, it was the 6870. The dog box was it was so crucial to have the dog box. And the story behind the dog box is kind of cool. So I want to say it was 2019, 2020, one of those 2 years. I still had the 6870 on the car. It was still an ECM link, and I had a stock transmission in it. And like I said, those things, you never know what's going to happen with them. Really, the big issue with those, I found, at least all the ones that I went through, was the 1-2 shift. You couldn't slam that gear. You just had to kind of baby it. And then, 2, 3, 3, 4, you could really slam. But the 1-2 is such a crucial gear to get. So the story behind the dog box is we were going to one of Kevin Juber's races down in Marion County Raceway. And I want to say it was 2020 because it was the year the shootout was canceled. And he had hosted that event down there. I had all my buddies over, that were out of town that were going down to the race with us. And my buddy Alex, he had never been in my car. So we went down, down the street for a quick, 2-3 pull and shredded third gear. And it's like, oh no, it's Friday night. We're leaving out at like 7 a.m. to head down there to go racing. And Mike Lester at Bushers, he called me and he goes, hey man, come grab my dog box for the weekend. And it's one of those things where you don't really want to borrow somebody's dog box, but you also don't want to tell them no,
Right.
So we threw that in the car, maybe got a couple hours of sleep, went down there. I had never driven a dog box car before. Let me tell you, it's a game changer. From then, so my best ET at that time was a 962, which was on the 64, 66. I hadn't raced with the 6870 a whole bunch yet. That weekend, I ended up going to 9-1.
Oh, wow.
And it was easy to do. And the dog box alone, I mean, it just made such a big difference.
Half a second difference. That's huge.
Yeah. So after borrowing his dog box, I knew I needed one, so I bought one. And that's the best thing I've done to my car.
Man, that's awesome. Well, it's a good thing Mike Lester let you borrow that.
Yeah, he's a good man, let me tell you.
Have you had any setups, Mike, either early on or in between that you really liked, that really worked well for you?
So prior to the 6466, the car was still front-wheel drive. I had numerous amounts of 14Bs. Those things, you'd blow them up in a couple months if you were just, trying to throw too much boost at them. The setup that I really had a lot of fun with on the car, it was like an old school Garrett 30R with the car being front wheel drive. It was a blast. I mean, it wasn't anything to write home about as far as, big power or nothing like that, but it was so much fun on the street.
Well, that's killer. Definitely love those types of setups. Yeah,
it's just a fun street car. Power steering, air conditioning, all that stuff in the 30R. Front wheel drive too. Those are the good old days. Sometimes you look back and say, "What the heck am I doing? Why am I not on a 30R still?"
Right, for sure. So many people, have said on this podcast, like, "Man, I wish I could just go back to where it was a fun street car."
Yeah.
So, Mike, I want to kind of combine the next two questions together because I was going to ask you if you could start all over and do this build again, and then what does the future look like for this car? But I know that you have a new chassis, so
yeah,
you kind of are getting the chance to start over and do this build again.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I'm taking full advantage of that.
So let's kind of talk about, the future for your current car and then the new chassis.
So the future for my current car. So that car's nickname was the Rust Rocket, and it's not called that for no reason. The rear subframe, it's a little iffy, as far as where it bolts into. The rockers are gone.
Yeah.
The strut towers were gone. They were patched a few years back. But it's that car has just gotten to the point where it doesn't have enough cage in the car. The rust in the car, I've got a family. I got to be safe. I got to be smart about things,
right,
not just be, stupid. So that car, it's going one of two ways. Number one, it's either getting cut in half long ways and getting mounted on the inside wall of my shop. Or number two is between all the stuff I have laying around and all the stuff my friends have laying around, just throwing just a stock motor back in the thing and bring it back to a daily driver.
Okay.
So I haven't decided which route to go yet. But as far as if that car is ever going to see the track again, that's a no.
Gotcha. So what's the deal with this new one?
So the new car kind of fell into my lap by an accident. It just so happened to be that I was looking for a stock transmission, browsing, through the DSM classifieds. And there was a guy about an hour away from me that was selling 2 transmissions, a T-case, a long block 6-bolt, and this entire rolling chassis. And the whole thing was $600.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even want the car. I just wanted those 2 transmissions. I offered the guy, I'm like, hey, I'll give you $600 for those 2 transmissions. That's all that I want. He goes, no, you got to take the whole lot. He was just getting out of the DSM scene. So my buddy, he convinced me. He's like, come on, let's just go pick it up. So loaded up the trailer, picked that car up. I figured it was just going to be a car that was going straight to the junkyard,
Right.
But we get there, and the thing doesn't have a speck of rust on it. And it's like, okay, I guess this is my new chassis. So as far as the new chassis is concerned, I am almost done. It's taken a long time because, I've been also working on the black car in the
right.
meantime. Now that car is officially done, I can focus all my attention on the new car. Between that work, family, and all that stuff. You only get a certain amount of time to work on the thing. But the new chassis, I'm almost done. It's got a 25.5 cert cage in it. The interior's painted on it. I just finished up the front end as far as the tubular front end on it. I actually just got the turbo mocked up as to where that's going to sit so we can start getting a new manifold built for it. This car is finally going over to an aluminum rod and a full fill block, still a cast block. Also, the car has the new turbo on it, courtesy of Nick, with the Wild Evo, next gen 8085. The car is going to be on Fuel Tech. I got an FT 550 for it. Like I said, aluminum rod 2-liter. It's finally doing some drivetrain upgrades as well. 3000 GT rear diff, the A1 CV Tech rear axles, carbon drive shafts, all that fun stuff. The end goal for this car is to go sevens.
Hell yeah.
That's the goal. 780s, 770s would be awesome. A 799, I'd be tickled pink. As long as it starts with a 7, that's all I care about.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I love that.
As far as the future of the car, I'm not entirely sure. It could go, trying to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into the 7s, but this drag and drive stuff is really kind of catching my eye. So first things first, I want to get the car to go 7s, and then we'll go from there as far as what I want to do.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm very intrigued by this drag and drive stuff.
Yeah, so me and Chance Aubrey, me and his 1G, we're supposed to be going on one here later this year. I'll be his co-pilot. He'll be the pilot. So that'll kind of be the first one to see how it's going to go. So I'm super excited to see about how that stuff goes.
Heck yeah. Have to let me know on that.
Yeah, definitely.
This episode of the MitsuTimes podcast is brought to you by MKS Motorsport. MKS Motorsport prides itself in producing quality, lasting parts for the StarQuest community. MKS has been a key player in the StarQuest community for over 13 years. Their parts are tested and proven to replace, outlast, and fit better than OEM. MKS parts are race-proven and can be found on nearly all StarQuests on our StarQuest list. Find out more about their products and services at mksmotorsport.com. So, do you have any goals for 2023 with either car?
So, 2023, the black car, it's done. It's parked in the corner, and it's probably going to sit there for a while. The new chassis, what I would really like to do this year is obviously, get the whole cage finished welded. It's about 80% done, I would say. Get that painted. Get the exterior of the car painted. Get the whole car painted, basically. I've got the subframes ready to go, both tubular subframes ready to go in the thing. The STM drag brakes. Get all that stuff bolted on to where it's a rolling chassis. It's going to basically, hopefully, be the end goal for the 2023 is to get the car where it really just needs the wiring finished up to where it can start and run early next year.
Yeah.
So we can hit the tracks early next year.
Heck yeah. Got a long year ahead of you.
Yeah, that's for sure. I've been collecting parts for the thing for probably 2 years now. So, and initially it wasn't supposed to go this far until my other car, ended up going 8s. This car, I thought I was just going to do an 850 cert cage in and kind of just take the whole setup from that car, put it in this car, and just hit the track.
Yeah.
But you know how everything goes. It just all spirals out of control, and then one thing leads to another, and now you're building a 7-second car.
Mike, I might have missed it when you were describing the new chassis, but I wanted to see if you were sticking with the dog box, if you were switching over to auto.
No, I 100% am sticking with the dog box.
Gotcha.
It's nothing against the autos, but the auto could be half a second quicker than me, but I still have way too much fun slamming gears.
I like it. I respect that. So, Mike, if somebody out there, they're building a 2G, they want to get up towards the top of the list where you are, what advice would you give them for their build so they can kind of avoid the obstacles or the mistakes you might have made doing your build?
As far as that, keep it simple. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. I've seen some stuff on the forums throughout the years, people trying to, there's, obviously new things lead to new technology and so on and so forth. But there's been plenty of proven setups that just work. Just stick with one of those proven setups that work, and you'll have success.
I think too many people, kind of going off what you were saying, too many people try to go straight to a race car right away.
Yeah. You got to make that transition slowly. I mean, you got to go 12s, and then you got to go 11s and 10s and 9s. You can't just go straight for 9s or straight for 7s for that matter. It's something that takes time. And, some people are fortunate that, can skip 12s and all the way through, maybe to 10s like I did. Now, granted, keep in mind, prior to my 10-second pass, the quickest that car had ever gone was like a 13.9 at 99 miles an hour. I couldn't even make it to the 100-mile-per-hour club. So, yeah, you got to start somewhere and start in the 12s and go from there.
Heck yeah. So, besides your GST, your black one and your new chassis, have you had any other Mitsubishis in your life that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I have. So in 2007 was when I bought my first 2G. The black car wasn't my first car.
Okay.
It was my second car.
That's right, you said that.
So the black car was my second car. The first one I had was I think it's like the A87, the magenta gray 2G.
Oh yeah.
So it was nothing to brag about, to be honest with you. It was a 420A and an automatic, and I had the car for about 6 months until I found the GST. So that technically was my first car. It was a 97 GS.
It's amazing how many of us 2G guys started out with 420As.
Yeah. Yep.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Amen to that.
So, Mike, maybe without the car, obviously, but is there any events that we can come hang out with you in 2023?
Yeah, so the first event that we're shooting for is going to be Cleetus and Cars in Indy, and we're really pushing on getting Brandon's 1G up there. I keep his car at my house here. It's in my shop. We just pulled the motor on it. He's getting a new motor. He's switching to Fuel Tech as well. So we'll be out there with his car at Cleetus and Cars. Probably IFOs here and there. 100% will be at the shootout with the whole crew, and then to end the year off, we'll definitely be at World Cup Finals.
Heck yeah.
That's another thing too. Speaking of World Cup Finals, that I would add that to my end goal for the new chassis. I love to race our World Cup Finals one day. For
sure. It's just
just to qualify.
World.
Yeah, just to qualify into World Cup Finals is a dream.
Yep. Even if I got knocked out first round, as long as I had that sticker, I'd be good.
Yeah, certified badass sticker. That's what I'm looking for.
Exactly. So, Mike, where can people find you on social media and follow this new build?
Yeah, so on social media, Mike Wagner on Facebook, Sir Wagner on Instagram, Mike Eclipse 99 on DSM Tuners. You can follow my whole build thread. Most of everything, every update I do is on DSM Tuners on the forums there because I'm old school. I like to use forums still. But those are the only three really social media avenues that I've got at the moment.
Awesome. Well, Mike, finally at the end, I always give people a chance to give a shout-out or a thanks to anybody who's helped them get where they are, get their car where it is. Is there anybody that you want to give a shout-out to?
Yeah, I'd like to give a shout-out to my teammates, all my boys. You know who you are. Bushers, they've been a huge help throughout all the years with everything that I need. My family, they're always there for me and deal with hours and hours and hours in the shop. So.
All right. Well, Mike, thanks for taking the time to come on here and tell your story. And
sure.
I definitely can't wait to see this new chassis in action.
Hey, me too. It's been too long.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for listening to the MitsuTimes podcast. Check out our Instagram and Facebook for daily updates. Get added to our list by going to MitsuTimes.org and clicking Submit a Slip. Thank you to all of our sponsors.